Hello and welcome to a very special episode of the Mark and Me podcast. As always, I'm your host Mark. Now this is the second part in a two-part special celebrating the incredible Slam Dunk Music Festival. I was lucky enough to go last weekend and I recorded 6 interviews for you guys at home. On the first part, which is out now, it had interviews with the Bouncing Souls, I Prevail and the Ghost Inside. They did absolutely brilliantly. Thank you for all the bands and all the people that shared this. And now I'm here with the second part. And on today's episode, I'm joined by 3 brand new bands. Kicking things off, it will be Mallory Knox. The return of this band after many years away. Mikey's back, and honestly, it's an amazing interview. Following that, I'm joined by Anthony and Frank from LS Dunes. 2 absolutely incredible people that have made up this superstar band, and honestly they're just amazing, and I know a lot of My Chemical Romance fans will be here to listen to Frank. And finally, Cody Carson from Set It Off, my favourite interview that I recorded over the whole weekend, and that's why it's finishing off today's episode. I can't wait to share them with you, so I think the best thing to do right now is to get straight to the first one. As I said, Mallory Knox had been gone a while. They returned, their set was amazing. They've just announced some UK dates at the end of the year, and I'm so excited because I've always wanted to sit down with Mikey and record an interview, and this is just what I hoped for. So here's me and Mikey talking all things Mallory Knox. Mikey, welcome to the Mark and Me podcast.
Hey, thank you very much for having me.
What I love to do with all guests that come on the podcast, it doesn't matter what walk of life you've been on, is take it right back to the very start. And what I'm always intrigued is by, what was that first album you remember buying as a kid, maybe with your pocket money or someone gave you, but that first one that you were like, I fucking love music.
Yeah, man, I can tell you to the letter. So I was at my auntie's house at Christmas, and my other auntie, like, we'd all come to sort of together for food and all that kind of thing, and she bought me a CD player. She bought me Hybrid Theory by Linkin Park.
Life-changing.
And I, not joking, I played that CD. The first time I played it, I didn't stop playing it until the batteries ran out, like 4 or 5 hours later. I was mesmerized by it, man. The voice, the tones, the imagination, you know, the way that they weave the sonics together and stuff. It was just, yeah, it was spellbinding. And I've sort of been hooked on them since, to be honest.
The dynamics of that band are like no one else. Like when there was like those, Korn, all those bands that were like the new metal era, they kind of just did something that's slightly different. And I remember like seeing them on MTV and I was like, fuck me, like this band's going to be huge. And you just saw them elevate, and
absolutely, there's
no one else like them. They've been and gone, unfortunately, because of circumstances, but
of course,
no one's ever kind of took those steps from them.
No, I agree, and that is a staple of a legendary band, in my opinion. Like you get bands that emulate one another, and rightfully so. You know, that's how genres develop and they grow and stuff. But you get these people that come out where they have both the right amount of talent and the right amount of imagination for the other elements, you know, imagery and the story they're telling, and those sorts of concepts that they just master both of them. Yeah. And they work in tandem to kind of create something that, as you rightfully said, like no one can really touch, and nor will they. I mean, you only have to listen to Chester's voice.
It's unbelievable.
Even now, in fact, I was literally listening to him the other day to get a bit of inspiration for today, really, you know, to get myself pumped up. And it's still to this day, like that CD player was 21 years ago, 22 years ago, and even to this day it still gives me goosebumps. Do you know what I mean? Like,
was it an anti-shock CD player? Like loads of the young listeners were like, what's that? But was it an anti-shock? Were you able to move it?
CD player was this thing that we used to use long ago to listen to music. It wasn't an anti-shock, it was pre-anti-shock. So I had to be very careful with how I'd walk around with it, but I was that way with it anyway because it was like sacred to me. So I miss those days. Like, you get a pack of AA batteries and last like a month, and you'd be like, oh wow, like, mate, honestly, we're long past that, and it's a thing in of itself, isn't it? Like, I feel the way that music is consumed now is different. Like, as I say, like, I was the most unsociable person at that Christmas because it was just me and the CD player, and like for hours.
The thing is, an album would come along, and because it was like in Virgin Megastore for £13, that's a lot of money when you're a kid.
For sure.
So you digest that album, and even if it was shit, I bought Metallica Reload. I was like, this is not great.
Yeah.
But I made myself love it because I had to justify a paper round for a week, or
Absolutely. I mean, the thing is, it's not me sitting here as like an older guy kind of going, oh, music nowadays is digested in the wrong way. It's consumed in the wrong way. It's like, it's just different.
I just think it's very disposable, and that's not a negative. I think you can listen to something on Spotify, and if you don't like it, you just skip, and that's fine.
Absolutely. And the thing is, it creates a trajectory and a speed of development of styles, of approaches, and a bravery actually to like not necessarily be quite so conforming, because you know that by the end of next month or next quarter, like you'll be on to the next thing. And I think something like that makes, for some people, that makes it having that preciousness before back in the day was the making of that band. But I think for others, maybe sometimes for myself as well, you sort of overthink it. You think, oh, I've got to put this out, it's got to be right. Whereas nowadays, kids are sort of just going like, that's a bop, let's put it out, see what happens. Do you know what I mean? And
that's frightening.
That's
like
wicked
the fact
in of
that,
itself.
like, probably one of the biggest bands in the planet right now, Bring Me the Horizon, dropped an album by telling you in the morning it's out at midnight. Like, that is insane.
It's magic. Can you imagine like being a teenager and having that, like when we were younger, back in the day?
Yeah.
Can you imagine having that kind of speed to be waking up eating your cereal and you're like, oh damn. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, like Green Day have got a new album out tonight.
Yeah,
It'd be unbelievable.
Just got to wait 8 hours rather than 8 months.
Yeah.
Sick.
What I always think about live music is it can change your whole perception of music. So you can go and see a band, and I think even if you listen to them to death, you can go and see them, and it can either highlight everything that you've ever loved or kind of knock it if it isn't the right band.
Yeah.
But when it all started for me, well, I'm like 42, so I saw Green Day on their Dookie tour.
Right.
And when I first went in, I knew that that's what I wanted to do for the rest of my life.
Yeah,
I was like,
you.
this is like a religious effect. Like I felt like we were all together like a church, observing this incredible like ritual of music.
Yeah.
And I wondered if you remember your first kind of introduction to live music. If it's embarrassing, come on, be honest.
Well, no, it's the first one. The first concert I ever went to was the Spice Girls.
Wow.
Yes, and that was I was like maybe 7 or 8 or something, but I was sick. I remember my dad had like arranged this whole surprise and stuff, bless him, and I wasn't very well. And I remember I watched about half of the show, and then I fell asleep on the chair in like Wembley or wherever it was. And I have these like sort of like little flashes of memory of it, but that's sort of very a very basic kind of thing.
Did you sleep the whole way through To Become One? Because that would have been tragic.
I have some memories of To Become One, especially the way that they were performing it on that tour. That may have been a bit of an awakening of sorts, actually. But that's
what
a story
about a
for another
rock
day.
show? What was one of the first ones that you were like, this is a band?
I don't want to, I'm sitting here singing Linkin Park's praises all the time, but the first one that I ever sort of intentionally was like, I need to go to this. My old man took me and my good friend Jason to see Linkin Park at Birmingham NEC.
Wow.
And it was on the Meteora tour. I think they
God.
just released Meteora, and I walked through. I can still picture it now. Like I walked through the curtains, sort of on the mid-tier level when you walk down to the floor, and this wall of sound just kind of hit me, and I was just like, I'm sold, man. These are my people. Like this is where I'm supposed to be.
What a great foundation, album-wise and live.
Yeah.
Linkin Park.
Absolutely.
This is
man.
Linkin Park podcast today. I love it.
That's
We're
it.
still talking about
Welcome
Mallory Knox,
everybody.
but,
Welcome.
What I'm really intrigued by, and I know you're going to get this question a lot, impressed, but
Sure.
you did go away, you left the band, they carried on. Genuinely, and I say this with full respect, when a singer leaves a band like Kasabian and stuff, I'm always a bit like, that's big shoes to fill. Like, fair play to the guys, full respect for them.
Absolutely.
But it changes the band. You can change a drummer, a guitarist, there's a slight dynamic change, but the vocals are key to a band.
Sure.
What was the moment, if you don't mind sharing it, that switched the light back on for you and you're like, I'm ready to go back to the kind of home that I was in?
Yeah, well, I've had some really amazing moments. So there's a bit of a string of them, really. The first one is when you step away from something like music, you very quickly realize who is your friend for real and who isn't.
Yeah.
And that was a very humbling experience for me. To see who would drop me a message just to hang out or shoot the shit or see how I was doing. and who disappeared off the face of the earth. And that's not a bad thing, actually, because it helped me grow up, and it helped me give my a better level of value into the people that do stick around. So
I've said quite a lot recently. Maybe I'm maturing, or maybe since I got married and settled down, I feel that like I would rather, the older I get, have a handful of friends than a bucket full of mates.
Yeah, of course,
and
man.
you know, I do feel like I value people a lot more when the bad comes, because you know who's there for the good and the bad.
It's funny, I was saying saying this to some friends the other day, like I love connection, right? But I used to sort of just have maybe 2 categories, maybe 3. Nowadays I just need to add an extra category, right? It's like you can still be amicable and wonderful and connected and conversational with people, but you don't have to give them your all, you know, which is what I used to do a lot. And I think it's a big part of what kind of made me feel the kind of level of burnout I did. So to go back to the original question, like the conversations that I got to have with people that once I genuinely knew that they cared about me, the fact that they were asking me to get back into it, not for gain or for anything other than the fact that they just wanted to see me do the thing that I love to do. And so many of them were here today, and it kind of got me into a bit of a state, if I'm honest with you, because it was just a wonderful circular moment. It's been nearly 6-7 years now.
Has it been that long?
And all of those conversations with those sorts of people, with fans, as I'd come to, you know, Slam Dunk and stuff, I'd say that was the big moment where I kind of thought, you know what, like there's something genuine here, and maybe I need to look into it. The other thing was, ironically, at Slam Dunk last year, I was sat with James, our guitarist, at the bar, just kind of catching up. Like, we've been good friends since we were very young, and we kind of, not to go into this too much, but we have, in our personal lives, we've had a few kind of moments that have kind of benchmarked just how much time has gone on since
that's fair.
Back in the day. You know, we've lost people that we love and all that kind of thing. And I think this overarching sort of thing in my head became, life is way too fucking short, dude. Sorry to swear, but it really, really is.
Swear as much as you want.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
fuck
of course.
Yeah.
Fuck
okay,
this.
sick. I wasn't sure.
Yeah, no, fuck, you know?
Fuckity fuck. Great. So, yeah, I think we just had this overarching realization, and that there was no time really like the present to kind of at least start the process of understanding, you know, what Mallory in sort of 6 years on is, you know?
You never want to look back with any regrets, and it's too late. And I think the fact you've come here today, we just came and saw your whole performance.
Oh, thank
you.
The
moment you walked on, I was like, I mean this. And I'm not just because I've got the microphones on.
Thank you.
It's like you'd never been away.
Yeah.
Like the moment you walked on, I was like, there it is.
Yeah.
It's like someone's just pushed pause and then pushed play on their CD player.
Mate.
And it was like you'd never been away.
It was a bit of a thing that, it was kind of the thing that one of the things that threw me off the most, because it's like, it literally feels like, you know, we could have played Slam Dunk last year and we're playing it again this year. Do you know what I mean? It really felt that, I thought there was going to be a bit of resistance.
Yeah.
I thought there was going to be some friction. I thought I was going to have to dust the cobwebs off the fans as well as myself, you know. But they were there. They were like ready for it. Probably more ready for it than I was.
From the second you walked on.
Yes, 100%. And I couldn't be more grateful to them for that. Like, they have no idea how much that meant to not only me but to all of the boys.
And you get to do it again tomorrow.
I know. It sounds like it's going to be a wetter one tomorrow. But you know, it's all right. I bought my docs, so we'll make it through.
And we came here today, and now there's like advertising boards everywhere.
Yeah.
And now it's like, well, we gave you a couple of days, and now we're going to come back and do a UK.
That's
you
it.
know, that's awesome.
Yeah, man. Thank you very much. It's been an exciting thing to keep under our hats for sure. And I think it's another challenge. You know, to do Slam Dunk and to get ourselves ready for that and stuff has been an education and a sort of humbling experience in of itself. The tour is going to be that again. And I'm not daunted by that. You know, this has been a beautiful kind of affirmation that kind of hard work that we're putting in, both mentally and physically, is working out. So, you know, it's just much more of that.
With every band that comes back after a long time, is there going to be any new music? Are you writing when you're rehearsing, or are you just flirting with the ideas? Or
So flirting is a good word. So the idea, you know, we're sort of looking at things because we have families and you know, other work that we do and all that kind of thing now. We're taking each hurdle and each step as it comes, and we're sort of facing each one with the intensity and the clarity that it needs each step of the way, basically.
And isn't that wise and grounded and mature? Instead of going, we're going to do 6 albums and we're going to do a best of album, the B-sides and all this, like, it just shows maturity.
I hope so. Yeah, I think so. Anyway, at least for me, it means that each of the decisions we can make is calculated in the correct way. It's approached with fairness, and it's not kind of overdoing it for anyone. It's not adding too much expectation, and as such, we can kind of enjoy it for what it is, which ultimately the best music we ever made as a band was always when we were in that moment of just being in enjoyment, and
baby steps, isn't it, really?
100%. We certainly want to write, we certainly want to be creative, but how that manifests and when that manifests is currently TBC, so watch this space.
My final question for you today, I ask this to everyone that comes on. As our intro's all edited and ready for the world to listen to, there's a song that gets played at the end. You get to choose it, and I'm going to put you on the spot. It can be any song by any band in the world. And I know right now, Mikey, I've put you completely like, what?
Yeah.
But one song, this happens with everybody. Every band I've had on, it doesn't matter if it's Incubus or Thrice or whoever, one song will come into your head. And I know at the moment there's 100, but one will float above, and I wonder what it is and why.
So this is my outro song? Yes, okay.
I will put little snippets of Mallory Knox in there, so it'll give you a nice introduction. And as it finishes, there'll be an outro.
I would go When Doves Cry by Prince.
That's a fucking epic song.
It's just a badass song. Like, I don't think anyone could possibly listen to that song and not be like, this geezer was, like, sick. If I was a wrestler, it would be my entrance music. And as I'm leaving stage,
what a wrestling
I want to
entrance.
slow-mo walk off to When Doves Cry.
At
for
Royal
sure.
Rumble.
Absolutely.
That'd be
That's
amazing.
Yeah, watch this space. That's, slam dunk this year, WrestleMania next year.
Aim high. Dude, thanks so much for coming on.
Hey, thank you for
Let's
having
do it
me.
again another time.
Absolutely, I'd love to.
Thank you, man. So there's my first interview with the incredible Mallory Knox. Mikey is such a great frontman. It's like he's never been away. The set was amazing. The sun was shining. Everyone was singing along. And it was just so nice to see them back on stage with the original lineup. And you could just tell there was something really special at the festival that everyone wanted to witness. And it was this comeback. And honestly, the response was amazing. And the fact that they've now announced some dates at the end of the year, I'm really excited to see them again. It's going to be absolutely amazing. Next up, and this is a huge one, LS Dunes. My God, this is a superstar lineup of just incredible musicians, and I've been lucky enough to be joined by Anthony Green and Frank Iero. Yes, the guy from My Chemical Romance is here. Just before we hit record, we did actually talk about Mac and Me for 5 minutes, and I should have kept it in, but I didn't hit record in time. But hey, it's great to know that these guys in the band are huge fans of the film that wanted to be E.T., just like me. So here's me and Frank and Anthony talking all things LS Dunes. I'm here with Frank and Anthony. Welcome to the Mark and Me podcast. Guys,
thank you for having us.
First of all, what I'd like to say is, how are you both doing today?
Good.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Sweaty.
A lot of press, a lot of heat, but it's so good to see you in the flesh.
We're like, it's not that hot. Like, everybody keeps saying it's super hot, but like, I'm from Philadelphia. It's like 108. Like,
yeah,
I don't know.
We're not used to this here. Like,
this is fine.
Yeah, but you
loving
measure the
this.
heat and spite there.
This is fine. Yeah.
What I do with every band that comes on here, I've done 350 episodes now. And,
oh man, today?
All today.
Oh,
that's why
shit,
I'm so
that's
tired.
crazy.
I'm like, oh my God, this is too much. But I take it right back to the very start. And what I love to know is, when you were a kid, what was that first album you remember buying with your pocket money or was handed to you that made you basically say, I want to be in a fucking band, man?
Oh man. All right, well those are two separate records, I think. First one I bought did not make me feel that way. The first one I ever bought was DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince, Summertime. So
great start.
My first CDs were Ride the Lightning and the Beavis and Butthead soundtrack.
Nice.
First two compact discs
Very
I ever
nice.
bought.
Was it the Beavis and Butthead Do America soundtrack?
No, it was the Beavis and Butthead movie, the original, the first
nice.
one. Was it Do America? I don't know.
I think so.
It was the one with.
It's like a
with
white
I
cover.
Hate Myself and I Want to Die on it.
Yeah.
It doesn't have like
Corrosion and Conformity.
Yes.
And,
How cool was that album?
that album's great.
that. I feel like that and the Crow soundtrack were like,
Oh my
It was
god.
like such a
huge
good
moments,
compilation of songs.
Yeah.
That Crow soundtrack.
yeah.
The Cure on that soundtrack.
Yeah, the Cure
Yeah,
song.
that's a hell of a tune.
The Stone
Yeah.
Temple Pilots song
Yeah.
that was in the trailer for
Big
the
Empty.
movie.
Yeah.
We were talking about that last night.
Yeah.
See, now I'm gonna.
That
now I
Nine Inch
just
Nails
wanna
cover
talk-
of Dead Souls.
The
Yeah, I just
Nine
want to
Inch
talk
Nails
the
cover.
soundtracks now for
Insane.
10 minutes.
Yeah.
The Rollins Band song.
Oh, fuck
I
yeah,
think
dude.
that was a cover too, maybe.
That was a great soundtrack.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
So what about live music? Because my first ever gig, I'm 42 years old. So you said you're old. I'm 42.
I'm 42 too.
Oh, nice. My
Me too.
first ever.
42 too.
This is
We're all
fucking
42
podcast. But my my first band was Green Day on their Dookie tour.
Yeah.
My parents dropped me off. I went in, changed my life. Three
Wow.
people on stage. I was like, that's what I want to do for the rest of my life.
That's awesome.
Got home, watched MTV when they used to play music. When I come around,
Yeah.
I was like, this is cool.
Yeah.
Have you got an embarrassing first gig, or is it cool as fuck?
Embarrassing first gig.
Unless
Well,
unless it's a cool first gig.
Yeah. I don't. Yeah, I think they were cool. I mean, my dad played drums and blues bands and stuff like that. My grandfather played drums in like big band Dixieland bands, and so I would go see them all the time. But the first time I ever went to a show like on my own was it was Weston the Bouncing Souls at Pipeline in Newark.
Nice.
So it was like
Man.
this underground show,
So that's
and it
a
was
hell of
fucking great.
Hell of a great show.
And they're playing, and the Souls are playing today.
Yep.
So, yeah.
My first show was my brother took me to like my first concert at like a venue was Bouncing Souls, Swingin' Utters, and Descendants
Fuck yeah.
at the TLA. in
Oh, that's
Philly.
awesome. I love
Yeah.
the TLA.
That's incredible foundations to build
Yeah.
upon. Like,
Yeah.
was it at that moment you thought, I want to do this, or was it later on in life?
I think, yeah, I think once I started to realize that you didn't need to be like a fucking virtuoso guitar player or,
Yeah.
you know, like you didn't need to be Slash to be in a band. Like you could be, you know, in bands that I would go see that were like my age, they would put the shows on, they would put the records out themselves. Like you could go to see a show with a fucking can of fucking soup,
Yeah, yeah.
you know, and $3. Like I was like, oh shit, like I can actually do this. That's when I knew that it was for me, you know? Because before it was like I would go see my dad and like he would play with like B.B. King or like Robert Cray, and it was like, fuck man, like
B.B.
that's
I could
King.
never do that.
Yeah.
You know.
Wow, you just
that
threw
would
that
seem
in
so
there.
far
Yeah,
away,
like-
you know what I mean? That's like looking at Jupiter.
Yeah.
You know? But going to see like, you know, Humble Beginnings or like the Souls at like a VFW hall, like that was like, oh shit, like that I can get there. That I can
I remember
do.
listening to Dookie and being blown away.
Yeah.
I think one of the first times I ever listened to something and was like, oh shit, like I could do that. Like I remember listening to like Modest Mouse and Promise Ring and like Built to Spill and bands like that and being like, oh, like there aren't rules. Like you don't have
Right.
to sound one way or the other. Like, you know, I imagine that's how folk people would listen to Bob Dylan and be like, oh, this is like visceral and not, you know, not what the norm is at the time.
Yeah.
Hearing bands like Built to Spill and Modest Mouse was like, oh, I could do that, you know? I remember watching a Green Day concert, the $2 bill concert on MTV when I was a kid, and I was like graduating like grade school and watching them play and being like, I wonder, I felt like it was accessible, you know?
And that's
you know,
what-
even hearing Billy Joe talk about like, yeah, there's 4 chords, and, you know.
Yeah.
It seemed real, didn't it? It seemed like I can go home and learn that song just by playing power chords.
Yeah,
like I can
yeah.
learn that song.
I grew up
Yeah.
like my parents would listen to Van Morrison and shit like that, and that music sounded so large to me. You know, it was like there was a disconnect there. That when you heard punk, you were like, oh yeah, like this is something I could do.
Yeah.
I love that, man. I love the fact that it was like a reality then.
Yeah.
But what was the moment, do you remember, for each of you in your own respectful lives? What was the moment that kind of pin dropped and you thought, this is going to be a reality now. This is going to be that I don't have to go and do the 9 till 5. This is the
Oh
moment.
geez. Well that didn't come for a while.
When LS Dunes called me to ask me to be in their band.
It's
That
only
was,
today.
I think it's like, you know, you get to a point where you're like, you know what? It doesn't matter. Like I would, if I had to get a job working at McDonald's or if I had to get a job doing whatever the fuck just to fund this habit,
Yeah.
I'm still okay with that. That's when you know you're going to be all right. You know what I mean?
That's beautiful. Because some people are like, unless I'm earning shitloads of money and selling out arenas, I don't want to do it. And it's
those are fucking tourist assholes that we don't need.
Yeah, I mean, this is I feel like the people who have to sustain a career are the people who are going to be doing this regardless.
Yeah.
They're not doing it for popularity. They're not doing it to have like the biggest song. You know what I mean? They're doing it because they love making music. And even if they do write a song that becomes the biggest song, they're just going to keep going.
Yeah.
Because that's not the end game. The end game is just to constantly get better. You're always going to be like in a perpetual state of arrival.
Yeah.
You know, as soon as you feel like you've gotten anywhere, you're fucked.
Yeah.
What's really nice about it as well, and I don't think some bands realise, and I spend my life around bands, but it's really transparent when it isn't sincere. And if you're going on stage and you're just playing for the sake of it, and you're just doing it as a job, and you're like, how long have we got to play this set? Okay, we'll do it, and then walk off.
Yeah.
I mean,
I see it. The fans see it.
Oh God, yeah. I remember touring with bands that I loved, and seeing that and being like, having them say to me like, oh fuck, we gotta go play now.
Yeah.
And being like,
for sure.
What?
Yeah.
How the fuck? You like, get out of the way. Let me go up and do it again. You know what I mean? Like, that shit never made any goddamn sense to me. And
I'm not sure there's like an art form to it at that point. Like,
No.
I'm sure there's some sort of thing there, like about just trying to make the most money, but like, I don't know. It doesn't interest me. It never did. You know.
But then that keeps you guys humble. It keeps you hungry. It keeps you
so.
wanting to just get to that end goal, which is probably never going to happen because you're always having
no
fun.
Point. There isn't an end goal. There isn't like you arrived here and it's this.
No.
You're always going to grow. You're always going to change.
You're always chasing that high of like writing the song that like gets you fucking stoked.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You know how
That's what
nice
it's
this
about.
is to hear this on the receiving end of asking the questions, because most bands are like, we just want to headline the biggest festival in the world.
that.
And when they do it, they've done it. They've achieved what they set out to do.
That's like talking about like with your kids, like, oh, why do you want those shoes? Like, you're only gonna feel that way like for like fucking 10 minutes.
It took me a really long time to get to the point where I was comfortable enough with what I was doing. I don't care if the record sells. I don't care if it's comparative to like what's popular or whatever. Like, I just want to love it. That's my victory. I win if I love it. Doesn't matter what happens after that.
Totally.
And yeah, that's been our goal as a band, and like as I think individual artists our whole life, no matter who we were working with. And that's why it's cool we kind of found each other and came together. We have this little goal where it doesn't need to pay our bills. It doesn't need to do anything like that. It just needs to be the truest thing it can, you know?
Yeah.
And while it's like that, you're always going to have fun.
Yeah.
You both look like you're really excited and happy about it. It's not like,
God.
oh God, like we've got to do a gig. And I think, isn't it amazing that you've all kind of got the same thought process and you're all on the same page?
Yeah.
You haven't got someone in the band who's like, oh, well, I'm just going to get these guys in because of the names and the history. It's because you want to do it.
There isn't a day
totally.
I wake up being in this band that I'm not overwhelmingly grateful for these guys in my life just to make music with. If it doesn't see the light of day, if it doesn't do anything with it, it makes me a better person, better artist, better dad, better friend. So like that's what it is for me, you know? What it becomes outside of that, none of my business.
Yeah.
I love it, man. What I'm going to do, because I know you guys have done a lot of press today, I'm going to end with one question. And I ask this to everybody that's been on the podcast. I've had Anthony Hopkins, Mads Mikkelsen, Kevin Smith, all different people from all different walks of life, but they get the same final question.
Okay.
And musicians find it the hardest. As this interview is all edited and ready for the world to listen to, you both get to choose a song that's played. It can be any song in the history of music, but a song that means something to you.
Oh.
And I'm going to put you on the spot. Most musicians are like, I need 5 minutes, I need a bit of time. They get their Spotify out.
No, what
but
a
maybe
wonderful
you've got
world.
one that's come to your heart straight away, and I wonder why you think it came there before any other song.
Oh, What a Wonderful World by Louis Armstrong. It's
Oh
my
my
favorite
God.
song of all time.
Absolutely
Yeah.
perfection.
I want that played at my funeral. That's it.
Is that going to be your song at your funeral? Like
Yeah. Hands down.
Mine's Jeff Buckley, Last Goodbye. I just think
Oh,
it's flawless.
great.
Like,
Yeah.
there's nothing better.
Great song.
Yeah.
Great song.
Now you've got expectations. Look at that.
Oh.
Louis Armstrong, Jeff Buckley.
Ice Spice.
My sweet Lord.
My Sweet Lord.
My Sweet
Oh
Lord.
my
yeah,
God,
dude.
this is a hard hitter.
Yeah.
Where'd you
that.
go from that?
I was gonna pick Claire de Lune,
Yeah.
because that's I picked it when I was like 18 in therapy as a song that like was like my grounding song. and I love that song. It's just the Debussy's classical piece. When you hear it, you'll be like, oh, this has been in 100 movies. It's like a beautiful song, but My Sweet Lord is like a song that I warm up with on guitar all the time.
It's
just a prayer.
Absolutely incredible.
It's a prayer to all of the thing, it's a prayer to whatever is that's greater than us. It's not like a singular
What a
God.
huge end to this episode with those. Like, I don't think we can top this. I've got a whole nother day of press, and I'm like, that's it. We've peaked.
Cancel
That was
it.
our
Cancel
goal.
him.
That's
We
it.
just wanted to fuck you up.
That's it. I've got no more press now. Cancel everything.
You cancel the podcast.
Guys, thank you so much for coming
Thank
on.
you.
I love
Pleasure.
that you know Mac and me. It changed my life. I hope it changed your life. And I really
I'm gonna have a
appreciate you
Coke with a
coming
flower
on.
in it
should
right
play
now.
And
the-
Skittles
you
and
should-
McDonald's.
You should play some of that audio of
I'm
the
gonna.
Mac
The
falling
start.
over the thing. Like, no.
Thank you, guys.
I see trees of green, red roses too. I see them bloom for me and you. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world.
So there's my interview with Frank and Anthony from LS Dunes. Really, genuinely one of the biggest bands of the weekend. There was such a buzz, so many people couldn't wait to see them, and they did not disappoint. Absolutely amazing, and I really hope I get to see more from them soon. I've been listening to their album non-stop since I've come home from Slam Dunk, and they're just incredible. So a massive thanks to Anthony and Frank for coming on the podcast. Genuinely two dream guests that are actually music legends. Lastly, now coming up on the podcast is Set It Off, and I'm joined by the singer Cody. For me, one of the best interviews I've done at any festival. I absolutely love the guy. It's so genuine, so wholesome, and that's why I've saved it till now. So here's me and Cody talking all things Set It Off.
Show them what they want. Social camouflage. Mirror everyone in sight. Such a charming way to lie. Tear us all to shreds till there's no one left, and you're stuck with your fake ass friends.
I'm here with Cody at Slam Dunk. Welcome to the Mark and Me podcast.
Thank you for having me.
What I love to do with everyone that comes on the podcast is basically I've done 350 episodes now.
Holy crap.
And I've been at Slam Dunk 3 years running, and what I love to do with every guest is take it back to the very start, and I'm talking when you're a kid.
Okay.
I would love to know what was the first album you remember, maybe with your pocket money or was handed to you, that album that you got as a kid.
I got it in my head.
Already.
It's the NSYNC self-titled album.
That's a great album.
Yeah, I remember it was that. I know I've listened to the Millennium one, but I think that was the first one I went into a store to purchase.
Yeah.
And,
with your hard-earned money.
Oh yeah, my heart. Yeah, as like a 5-year-old.
Yeah.
So I worked my ass off.
And let me guess, that's like $12, and you then listen to it again and again to justify the money.
Oh my God, I don't remember the price because I was so young, but all I do remember is you're right. I beat it into the ground.
Yeah.
I listened to that thing constantly. I think because of that, it kind of just seeped into my brain and has become a big influence melodically and sonically into the band. Even though we're like a heavier rock band right now, it's still very much pertinent in that.
It's quite
way.
cool, isn't it, when you're a kid? Because I remember, I'm 42 now, but I would get my pocket money. I would go and buy like Metallica Load or Smashing Pumpkins, and I would absorb that album because it was £12. It wasn't on Spotify. It wasn't a stream. Even if it was a shit album, I would spend hours like digesting it.
Yes.
Reading the lyrics, even smelling the inlay, because it was like your hard-earned money had paid for it. So you kind of needed to convince yourself to love it.
You did. It's so important to you know what I think is cool too is like the evolution of how you absorb music from like when you're really, really young
Yeah.
to as you grow older. Like before, it's just a feeling. And that's the thing that we all have right now, obviously. Like when we go to a show and like it's a festival. There's going to be people walking by and they've never heard of some of these bands. But if they get that feeling, it's just like kind of how you were when you were a kid. It's just how does it grab you?
Yeah.
And then, like you said, as we grow older, we get to like analyze. What is it that makes me like this?
I
You
love
read
it,
the
man.
liner notes, trying to learn every word to it, and then you want to dissect the lyrics, and then if you start getting into songwriting or music, like okay, why does this sonically make me feel so excited? I think that's the beauty of music. Whether you know a lot or a little, you take something away from it in your own personal way, and it's an individual experience every single time. No one feels the same. about, like, one my favorite things about songwriting is I'll write a song about a specific thing I went through, and I'm thinking about that one story, and then someone will come up and be like, hey, this got me through. I wrote a song about a long distance relationship. I was thinking about me being on tour, and this guy was like, yeah, this got me through my deployment. And like,
Wow.
when he's like, oh, like over in like the army and stuff. I just thought it was really neat how it can be absorbed like that.
And so many people can take different things from your music and not know what you were actually trying to portray.
Yeah.
So it's beautiful that someone can take something from your lyrics and it be such a, I don't know, like a soothing, like it heals them.
Yes.
And that's because of you putting your pen to paper. Like, it's such a powerful thing.
I think if you mean it and you feel it while you're writing it, they're gonna feel it too.
Yeah.
And also, if you're having fun doing it, they're gonna have fun with it too.
So what I've done today, I spoke to quite a few bands, and some of them are like, oh yeah, we're really looking forward to our set.
Yeah.
The flip side is you've done your set.
Oh yeah.
And how was it for you?
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. It's our favorite set. We've done Slam Dunk. I think this is our third or fourth time. This is our favorite set by far, because it was just a very validating experience. You know, we've been a band since 2008. It's been 15 years.
That's crazy.
So like
I didn't realize it was that long.
Oh yeah, and all you can hope for is growth.
Yeah.
And to see that the crowd grew, the interaction grew, and our sound is like different now. So like to see them having that much fun was like we're in the right place at the right time, playing the right thing. It just felt like everything was aligning. It was really nice.
What I love to know as well is, like, live music is such a powerful thing, but we talked about being a child and discovering those albums and music.
Yeah.
But when it comes to live performances, can you remember, maybe you were a kid or a teenager, that first gig you went to? It might be embarrassing and you're going to
No, not at all.
Was it something incredible?
So my first gig I went to, I guess it was like Millennium Tour, Backstreet Boys.
Oh my
But
Lord.
that was nosebleeds. But the one I count was a local show in my area of Clearwater, Florida, a ska band called Chubby Tough.
I love
And
the
it
name.
Was, it was at a
that name is cool.
it was at a venue called State Theater in St. Pete. And I remember being on the floor and learning like the dance that goes with ska called skanking, and just being with friends and having the time of my life. And that was my first introduction into the local scene, and that fueled everything from that point. I was like, oh, this is what it's like going to a rock show, being like around other people and like connecting and feeling. And so that was one of my first ones. One of my ones that was like, I need to be in a band, is I saw a secret, I think it was a MySpace secret show for Fall Out Boy, same venue.
Oh my Lord.
Same exact venue. And it was like a whole nother experience.
I love that band, man.
Yeah. God, I love
we
them.
have Download Festival in the UK, and they're
they
literally
playing?
they're headlining.
Ah, yeah, way to go.
Headlining, man.
That's what's up.
And like, it just shows that determination, hard work, and keep grafting away. You
Yeah.
will get that eventually.
That is a message for anybody listening.
Yeah.
If there's something that you are looking for, take all your failures, learn from all of them, fall down a million times. It's not a sign to give up. Keep pushing. I'm not trying to be a postcard or a Hallmark card.
No.
It's the truth. Take all those failures, and if you're persistent and you love it enough, you'll start seeing the growth.
It sounds crazy, but I interview bands, and a lot of them have been going a long time. I recently had Brandon Boyd from Incubus on a couple of days
Oh,
ago.
cool.
What a legend he is.
Yeah,
but I didn't
absolute legend.
realise that like Morning View is like 21 years old or something.
Yeah.
And it really makes me feel old. I'm like, oh my God, I remember getting that album. I've had, all these bands that have been going like thrice over 20 years.
Yeah.
And I wondered with yourself now, getting to that like milestone, what is it that kind of keeps you still hungry and keeps you still wanting to come to these festivals, these gigs, and always kind of, you always look like you're having the time of your life.
I am.
And I don't believe you're wearing a mask. I don't. I think
Yeah,
you're
no,
genuinely happy.
I genuinely am.
Yeah.
So my parents were in a band growing up, so I got to watch them play, you know? And I know how much they loved what they were doing. And it was always a privilege to them. And it's always been a privilege to me. And whether we're playing in front of, when we started out, booking our own shows, we didn't have a booking agent, a manager. We would play sometimes to 5, sometimes to 0 people. Didn't matter. I get to do this. And then when I get to do it on this level and connect with that many people, the feeling you get is just, it's indescribable. And that never gets old. And the other thing is that feeling of constant will to grow. I like that. I like the competition within yourself to try to beat what you did last time, to try to beat the show you did last time, to beat the tour you did last time, and wanting everybody to go, that was the best I've seen you every time they see you next. I like that challenge. I like the what it does for people that they can see us caring. But more importantly, like, we all started as fans, man. Like, we started buying tickets to Warped Tour, standing in the crowd, me getting unbelievably sunburnt. and just like I remember being front row for Newfound Glory at Janus Landing in St. Pete, singing All Downhill From Here as hard as I could at Jordan, hoping he would just give me eye contact for a second. I know what that feeling is. I know how important that is. And it's just important for us on stage when we're going all out as it is for them. And I always say to myself, I just want to connect tonight. That's all.
I think, and I say this with full respect, a lot of bands lose touch.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes money and fame and getting these big slots
Ups
can
and downs.
change someone.
Yeah.
And I've been to gigs before when I just don't feel a connection. I just feel a big divide between that stage and the barrier.
Yeah.
With you guys, I've never felt that. I've always felt like you guys, we're all as one.
Yeah.
And hearing you say that today about how much it means to you, a vocalist looking at you in the eyes,
Yeah.
it gives you the same respect and appreciation. But you automatically seem to me like the most humble guy in the world. Like, you're hungry for it,
Yeah.
but you never take it for granted.
No, I can't. I know I've said like we did it since 2008, but if you told me we started last month, it would still feel the same. I'm just happy to be here, man. I get to do this. I get to sit with you on a couch because my band has done something enough to where you feel like it's valuable to have a conversation. That enough is insane to me. You know, like I'm just gracious and happy to be able to do this, and that anyone gives a shit.
Do you? And I know you've been going a long time in this band, but is there a finishing point? And I don't mean you break up. I mean, is there a goal? Is there like we want a headline Slam Dunk? Is there a realistic thing within your heart where you're always striving for something?
For me, because of how much the shows take precedent and how it's so important to me, the greater the crowds grow, the greater the feeling is of that connection. So for me, it's not like a finish line, because I'm sure once we reach it, we won't be able to get enough of it.
Yeah.
But I want us to be like headlining arenas. I want us to be headlining stadiums. The more people we can involve in that sort of experience, like the energy is already here now. If it was that, how would I ever stop? And I think that's another thing that keeps me going, is just keep chasing that goal of just getting to play in front of more and more people that can resonate with the feeling of coming to a show of ours.
The thing is, you've worked for it as well. You know, there's bands out there that are headlining arenas, and there's a reason that they're there.
Yeah.
It's because they've put in the graft.
Yeah.
Very rarely do you get overnight success in this business.
Very rare.
And I think it's really nice to hear that you're still always striving. It's like there must be like there's no limit. You could keep going. I think if you got to be the arena headline band, you would then look at stadiums.
Yeah, probably.
You know, and imagine the feeling of coming off a stadium.
Yeah, I know. Like, there's always, it's like a blessing and a curse. As soon as you get somewhere, you're like, all right, we did it. What's next? And that's the hardest part. But then, like, whenever you get to that point, because you can't get caught up in it. You can't be like, oh my God, well today didn't go so great because of this small thing. At the point, it seems like everything. But then you gotta like look back, like, hey, remember when we were eating a $5 pizza on a curb because we had no money? Like, hey, remember when we played a show in Detroit to literally 0 people because no one knew who the hell we were? It's like, as long as you can keep yourself grounded and look back to where you were and where you are now, you're able to keep going all the time. It's okay to keep fighting and to be self-competitive, but at the same time, if you lose sight of where you were, I don't think you can ever get to where you want to go.
Is there times when you lose yourself a little bit within the music and being in the band, because you're so integral to this music and you're so involved internally? Do you sometimes not get that moment to take a step back and kind of take a snapshot and go, fuck guys, this is a really big deal? Like,
I think from like the band started when I was 19, from 19 to like mid 20s, say up to like 26, I would lose myself entirely.
Yeah.
Like I didn't have to me there was no breathing room. It's just go 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 go. I'm like 35 now, not like I am, but it is it's very easy for me now to take a step back. Like today, like I remember there's a moment, probably 6 or 7 song in, where I just watched everybody get into it, move their hands. I'm just smiling.
Yeah.
And that's it. That's my snapshot. That's my moment.
Are you like taking photos in your head?
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Yeah.
We had one recently. We supported All Time Low at Wembley Arena.
Wow.
And it was amazing. But there, we didn't usually do it, but I was like, everyone take out your flashlights, because we didn't have a lot of light on us. And I just saw everything light up. And that was like my hands went out. And then our photographer, Matt, got this photo of me that I'm probably going to frame and put in my house. But it was like one of those,
oh my God.
It's getting better, it's getting better, it's getting better. It's just such an amazing feeling. And you have to. You got to take your wins. It's okay to be frustrated with your losses, but you got to take your wins.
With All Time Low opening up for them, you know, those slots, even here at Slam Dunk, do you look at it as an opportunity to win new fans? Do you look at it as
Yes.
like, we know that people have got tickets for all time
we
low? You know
never
those
feel like
people.
we've fully arrived.
No.
No, like every. So I think that comes from like when we would play Warped Tour. We play the Kevin Says stage, and there'd be maybe like 50 people when we're going on stage, and we're like, our goal is, we're happy they're here, but our goal now is any foot traffic, you're coming up, you're walking up to this, you're joining the crowd. So that is such a big thing for us. Like, I'm not singing it just to people up front. I want to sing to the people walking all the way back there. And if they can feel that energy and want to join in, we've done our job that day. And next time we come back, they'll now be there, one of those 50 people, hopefully plus more, that are there because they want to see us. They came to see us intentionally, not by accident.
That's incredible. We're nearly 6 months into the year, which blows my mind.
Dude, for real.
How is the rest of the year shaping up for you? Are you kind
Busy.
of... Yeah,
Well,
manic.
I do get 3. So after tomorrow will be day 83 of touring. We did a full U.S. tour, a European tour, and then these 2 festival dates. And then I'm off for 3 months, which is great. So I'm gonna relax with my girl, my dogs, and see my family, and then we're back at it end of August for another like 2.5 months. And then we get December off, and then we're coming back out here end of January to headline.
How cool is that?
I'm excited, dude. We haven't
Start
been out here in a
the
while.
year Over here. It's been ages, man.
Dude, the appreciation for rock in the UK and Europe is unmatched.
Yeah.
And I'm not just saying that.
No, of course.
Like it truly is such a level of respect and love. So to come back as a headliner, we felt that way supporting I Prevail just now. Like to do it as a headliner, I cannot freaking wait, dude.
And that's the best way. That's going to be the start of the year.
Yeah. It'll be a great. And my birthday's in January. There's a new year. I'm gonna feel refreshed and excited, and that's gonna be the first stamp of the year. It's gonna feel great.
What I do on this podcast is my final question for you today.
Yo, what's up?
Every single person that comes on gets the same final question.
Okay.
So when the episode is all edited, ready for the world to listen to, it plays with one final song, and you get to choose the song that's played. And
Any
it
song?
can be any song in the history of music.
Oh.
But what I think is quite interesting when I ask people in bands is genuinely, there's probably 100 songs in your head.
There
But
is.
one will rise to the top in your heart and your
This
soul.
is a weird, deep cut. But this is the song, so not to get all sappy on you, but my dad passed away in 2008, right as I was starting the band. Him giving me my blessing, or him giving me his blessing is what made me start this whole thing. And me and my sister have this memory of him singing this one particular song. And every time I go to a bar with a karaoke machine, I play this song.
That's the one.
And it's called Backstabbers by the OJs. And it's just a vibe.
I've never heard
it's
this
from
track.
like the 70s. Same people that did like People All Over the World.
Oh,
Join
right, okay,
Hands.
cool.
It's a song that like also theoretically, like subject matter wise, I've written a lot of songs about this because they've been through it like the industry, but also I've been through it a ton of times. So like the message is something that anybody can relate to, but it's just a great vibe overall.
I always ask the question because I always like the reason more than the actual song
Yeah.
choice.
That one's for my dad.
And that's a big one, man. So
Yeah.
a lot of love for that and a lot of respect. And I genuinely dedicate this interview for that because that's a big thing, man.
Appreciate that.
It's beautiful. Well, when you come back in the new year, I know these guys really well. Let's sit down again.
Yeah.
Backstage when we've got a bit longer and let's do a follow-up.
We'd love that.
I'd love that, man.
We'd love to see you again.
Thank you so much for coming on today, dude.
Thanks for
I
having me.
appreciate it. So that was me and Cody from Set It Off. Genuinely, I absolutely love that interview. It's just so genuine, so real, and just a dream come true to have such a great guy on the podcast. And I've absolutely loved Slam Dunk. It was one of the best weekends that I've had for a long time. The sun was absolutely amazing at South, and it just seemed like such a great atmosphere. I loved every minute of it. And I just had a great experience, and I want to give some thanks because honestly, these podcasts wouldn't happen at these festivals without these people. First of all, Sarah from Major PR, you made this interview happen with me and Mallory Knox, and I'm so grateful for the time you've given me, and I hope I've done you proud. Next up, Holly and Haley from Good as Gold Group. Genuinely, these girls do so much for the podcast, and without them, I would not be where I am today. So thanks so much for setting up the interview with Set It Off and LS Dunes. Honestly, your time is so amazing, and you get me some incredible opportunities, and I never take these for granted. Also to Martin, my good friend who came along for the whole weekend. Great guy, absolute amazing friend of mine, and was great to take photos, which you hopefully have seen on Instagram, Facebook and Twitter. It was an amazing experience. We do it every year, and we have this brilliant dream team going on. And lastly, I want to kind of dedicate this episode to Sean Smith, the singer from The Blackout. Honestly, one of the best frontmen in music. I think put on the show of the weekend with the Blackout. Just an all-round amazing, genuine guy. Behind the scenes, there's no egos. If he's in the press tent with his podcasts happening, he's just a lovely guy, making everyone feel happy, upbeat, and he's just genuinely become a really close friend. So I'm actually going to dedicate these specials to him, just for being an all-round amazing guy. If you've enjoyed today's episode, please check it out on markandme.com. All the other episodes are on there, and there's 350 waiting for you right now. If you've really enjoyed today's episode, why not share it on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram? It really means a lot, and all the links are on markandme.com, so it's really simple. And if you really want to go that extra mile, why not go on Patreon and sign up for £2 a month? And for that, you get exclusive episodes, you get a welcome pack with badges, stickers, newsletters, and so much more. I can't do the podcast without the support on Patreon, so it really does mean a lot if you can help, and it really goes a long way. Just before I go, I want to give a big shout out to the podcast sponsor, Richer Sounds. If you're in the market for anything to do with home video, TV or audio, get on richersounds.com and treat yourself to something awesome. I'll be back in only a few days' time with another brand new episode of Mark and Me. So until then, look after yourself, take care, and I'll speak to you all very soon.
They do. They smile in your face all the time. They wanna take your place. The backstabbers, backstabbers. They smiling in your face all the time. They wanna take your place. The backstabbers, backstabbers. All you fellas who have someone and you really care, yeah, yeah. Then it's all of you fellas who better beware, yeah, yeah. Somebody's out to get your lady. A few of your buddies, they sure look shady. Blades are long, clutched tight in their fists, aiming straight at your back, and I don't think they'll miss. What they do? They smile in your face all the time. They wanna take your place. The backstabbers, backstabbers. I keep getting all these visits from my friends, yeah. What they doing to me? They come to my house again and again and again and again, yeah. So are they there to see my woman? I don't even be home, but they just keep on coming. What can I do to get on the right track? I wish they'd take some of these knives out my back. What they do? They smile in your face all the time. They wanna take your place. The backstabbers, backstabbers. Low down, dirty. What they do? They smile